The moment you have a cigarette in front of them, the moment that you have a drink in front of them, the moment that you use in front of them, even the moment that you take prescription medication in front of them, it starts and ends with a respect for substances. It is never too early to have that conversation. Even for children and toddlers. I mean, the conversation also is applicable to Tylenol and ibuprofen. Why do we take this? Well, we're taking this because it, pain, fever, you explain things. It doesn't, when you try to hide the behavior as an adult, you try to smoke cigarettes around your kids, they know, they smell it, they see it. But when you hide the behavior, you're essentially demonstrating for them that they should hide the behavior too. Whereas instead, if you say, hey, I do this because I'm stressed, I do this because I'm struggling to quit, I don't want to do this and I want to stop and I don't want you to start, and this is how I got started. But when you have that conversation, you model a different behavior, and children quite literally are sponges, and that's how they learn. They learn by modeling behavior. And if you model the behavior of instead like, hey, I have a drink a week after work to relax because I enjoy it, but it's very important that you understand that there's a reason it's only once a week. This isn't like drinking Coke, this isn't like drinking water or iced tea, this is different. And then as they get older, helping to develop what normal or moderate drinking habits should be. But if you're trying to quit, be open and honest. I smoke cigarettes and I don't want to. I don't like the way that it makes me feel. It's bad for my health. I'm trying to quit, but it's really hard to quit. The biggest tip, honestly, that I can give you is do it. Don't be afraid to do it, and do not ever respectfully be naive enough to think that they're not around it, because they are. I have the privilege and the gift of working in multiple communities in Texas, multiple communities in Virginia and Tennessee. There's not one of them that is not touched by this, not one. It's not a cultural thing, it's not a race thing, it's not a gender thing, it's not even a geographic thing, it's everywhere. There's different flavors depending where you are geographically and depending on the cultures that you're dealing with, but it's still there, it's still prevalent. There's more methamphetamine in poor communities, and there's more pills in more affluent communities. But the problem is the same and fundamentally the same, and it's so important to address it. But I think specifically with regards to bringing this up to children, honestly, the best place to start is not, hey, do you know anything about blah, 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 or do you see blah, 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 or are you exposed to blah, 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 but how often do you see pills? How often do you see kids vaping? How often do you hear other kids talking about drinking? Because it happens. And children by nature will try to hide behavior, because unfortunately that's the thing that's most modeled, is hiding behavior and doing it in secret. And that's one of the reasons why adults and children, and frankly, I think the entire country is struggling with addiction, is because they hide it and they don't want to talk about it. And it's uncomfortable, and I get that, but don't give them an out. Say, when you're questioning your child, say, how often are you exposed to other kids vaping? It's not a question of if, I assure you, it's a question of how many times a day. It spares nobody. Other tips I think would be helping to establish that relationship again, where it can be a conversation and they feel comfortable and welcome having that conversation with you. You cannot fix a problem that you refuse to recognize and that you refuse to bring up and talk about. It just cannot be done. And you do infinitely more harm and damage by not talking about it.